Welcome to the world, though you'd probably rather not be here. You've just been born high up in a tree in Madagascar, inside what looks more like a clump of badly arranged leaves than a proper nest. Your mother, who resembles the rejected prototype of a Halloween plushie, gives you a quick lick and goes back to her favorite activity, completely ignoring your existence. Congratulations, you're an II, possibly the most misunderstood and downright horrifying creature evolution ever came up with. From the very first moments, life makes it painfully clear that something went terribly wrong in the design department. Your eyes are so enormous they take up most of your face, glowing in the dark like two malfunctioning orange headlights. And that's not even the worst part. Your fingers, especially that ridiculously long, bony middle finger, look more like some kind of cruel joke than an evolutionary advantage. As the night falls, which is when you're supposed to be most active, because apparently being ugly wasn't enough of a challenge, you start noticing other nocturnal animals moving through the forest. The few that catch a glimpse of you react as if they've just seen a demon collecting toll fees, vanishing so fast they leave a trail of falling leaves behind them. You've finally reached the age where you're supposed to start fending for yourself, and let's just say, it's not pretty. Your first attempt at hunting for larvae is about as effective as trying to crack open a safe with a wet spaghetti noodle. That absurdly long middle finger of yours is supposed to be your main tool, but nobody handed you an instruction manual. After several failed attempts and a few self-inflicted bruises, you start getting the hang of it. Turns out you have to tap on tree bark gently, kind of like knocking on your neighbor's door at 3 a.m. Your massive ears, which look like poorly aligned satellite dishes, start picking up the subtle echoes bouncing back from within the wood. It's like having a superpower, but the most inconvenient and unimpressive one imaginable. And as if that wasn't enough, you also have to master echolocation. Your first few weeks are a total disaster. You crash into branches that definitely weren't there a second ago, misjudge distances, and end up leaping into empty space more times than you'd like to admit. The other nocturnal animals watch your struggles with a mix of confusion and pity, like bystanders witnessing someone learning to drive, blindfolded, in the dark, with an instructor who has already abandoned the car. Just when you were starting to get the hang of life as a larva-detecting apprentice, your mother decides it's time for you to move out. No heartfelt goodbyes, no last-minute survival tips. One day, you wake up, and she's just gone, like a pizza order that never arrived. Finding your own territory is like trying to rent an apartment in New York, except worse. Every decent tree is already occupied by another II who glares at you like a bouncer at an exclusive nightclub. After several failed attempts and a few scars that prove toucans are surprisingly territorial, you find a tree that seems promising. Sure, it's crooked, has more holes than a colander on clearance, and is probably on the verge of collapse, but hey, it's yours. That's when the real problems begin. Humans. To the local villagers, you're not just an odd-looking primate. No, they think you're a walking omen of bad luck, which is kind of ironic, considering you're the one who has to wake up every day looking like this. One particularly memorable night while you're just minding your own business, tapping on trees for food, you suddenly lock eyes with a group of villagers. The next thing you know, you're running for your life. Your absurdly long finger keeps smacking into everything. Your echolocation decides to take a break right when you need it most, and you end up crashing into more branches than you can count. After barely escaping your encounters with humans, you stumble into adulthood, only to face an even bigger challenge, finding a mate. If the jungle had its own version of Tinder, your profile would probably read something like this. Nocturnal primate seeking companionship, distinct Lovecraftian aesthetics, skilled in tapping trees with an abnormally long middle finger. Swipe right if you're into the bizarre. Unfortunately, The dating pool is depressingly small. Female eyes are so rare that finding one is like searching for a needle in a haystack, if the needle also had glowing eyes and perpetually growing teeth. When you finally come across a potential mate, things don't exactly go smoothly. Your attempt at a charming first impression goes completely off the rails when your freakishly long middle finger gets stuck in the bark of a tree mid-conversation. As you struggle to free yourself, she watches you with an expression that clearly says, "Is this really the best natural selection has to offer?" And then there's your so-called territory. At first, you thought it was a decent spot, ignoring the holes, the rotting branches, and that stubborn termite colony that refuses to leave. But as the days pass, deforestation chips away at your home, and humans seem to have a special talent for building houses right beneath your favorite trees. Territorial disputes are just as ridiculous as everything else in your life. Picture two bizarre-looking creatures facing off in the moonlight, waving their middle fingers at each other like angry drivers in a supernatural traffic argument. The years haven't exactly been kind to you, not that anything in your life ever has. Your fur, which has always looked like you stuck a fork into an electrical socket, now has streaks of grey, as if the sheer stress of existing as an eye has physically manifested. Your middle finger, the instrument of your survival and your social downfall, is no longer as precise as it once was. You tap on the bark, but sometimes you miss, like a retired drummer who's lost his rhythm. Your once expansive territory has now shrunk to a handful of trees at the edge of what used to be a dense forest. Deforestation has been relentless, like a game of Tetris where every piece is just an empty space. The few remaining eyes are rarer than an honest politician, and at this point you find yourself talking to trees as you tap on them, an eerie, one-sided conversation with the bark that somehow makes you seem even creepier. On a particularly cold night, while searching for food in one of your last remaining trees, your echolocation, never the most reliable tool, now feels more like a broken compass. You pause on a branch, your enormous glassy eyes reflecting the moon like dim, worn-out streetlights. Below you, the landscape has changed so much that you barely recognize what was once your home. And just like that, without fanfare or drama, you disappear into the night, just another eye who lived the best he could. There won't be any nature documentaries narrating your story, no monuments honoring your existence, just another creature that spent its life tapping on trees with an oversized finger and unintentionally terrifying anything that crossed its path.